Yes, my friends, it's been confirmed that the Atlanta Falcons are making a move, but it hasn't pleased everyone. We're going to talk about it in detail, so be sure to hit that like button because I'll keep you updated on a daily basis. We've got a lot to talk about, from a new linebacker addition to a familiar face heading to New England. Let's get to it. The Falcons finally made a move in free agency, signing former Las Vegas Raiders linebacker Divine Deablo to a 2-year, $14 million deal. It wasn't the flashiest signing of the offseason, and it even received a C grade from Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated. But let's break it down and see what it really means for Atlanta. Deablo brings something the Falcons have been looking for: speed. Atlanta needed to add athleticism to their linebacker group, and Deablo delivers on that front. The 26-year-old has spent his entire career with the Raiders, starting 42 games and racking up 288 tackles. He's played at least 75% of Las Vegas defensive snaps over the past 3 seasons, so he's experienced and ready to contribute. However, we shouldn't assume he's going to be a full-time starter right away. Troy Anderson, when healthy, is one of the most athletically gifted linebackers in the league, and Caden Ellis has been a solid presence as well. The issue? Anderson hasn't been able to stay on the field. That's where Deablo becomes extremely valuable. He's an insurance policy. He gives the Falcons much-needed depth and versatility in a position group that lacked it last year. Deablo actually started his career as a safety at Virginia Tech before transitioning to linebacker, which gives him some strong coverage skills. He's also shown the ability to blitz when needed, which adds another dimension to Atlanta's defensive scheme. With a linebacker core now featuring Anderson, Ellis, Deablo, and J.D. Bertrand, the Falcons have bolstered their second level, but questions remain about their defensive front and secondary. One thing to note: this signing doesn't do much to offset the Falcons' losses in free agency. Losing center Drew Dalman to the Chicago Bears still puts Atlanta in a position where they could qualify for a mid-round compensatory pick in 2026. But Deablo's contract likely won't affect that formula. And for those wondering about Grady Jarrett, because he was released rather than signed away, the Falcons won't receive any compensation for his departure. Financially, the Falcons don't have much room left to make big moves. After signing Deablo, they now rank 30th in available cap space, according to Spotrac. That means they need to be strategic with their remaining funds, filling roster gaps wisely before turning their focus to the NFL draft in April. There are still plenty of needs to address, and patience will be key. Now, let's shift gears to a former Falcon finding a new home. Wide receiver Mack Hollins is headed to the New England Patriots on a 2-year, $8.4 million contract. Hollins is one of the more unique personalities we've seen in Atlanta, but his time with the Falcons didn't quite go as planned. After a career-best season with the Raiders in 2022, where he caught 57 passes for 690 yards and 4 touchdowns, expectations were high when he joined Atlanta. Unfortunately, injuries in the Falcons' inconsistent quarterback play prevented him from making a real impact. He finished the 2023 season with just 18 catches for 251 yards and, for the first time in 3 years, failed to score a touchdown. Not entirely his fault, given the struggles of Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke under center. Hollins rebounded last season with the Buffalo Bills, catching 31 passes for 378 yards and a career-high 5 touchdowns. He even played a key role in Buffalo's playoff run, starting in 2 of their 3 postseason games and finishing with 104 yards and a touchdown in the playoffs. Now, he's heading to New England, where he'll reunite with offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels, who was his head coach in Las Vegas. Beyond his receiving ability, Hollins is known for being a solid special teams contributor, which makes him a valuable asset for a Patriots team looking to build around young talent. His veteran presence should help stabilize their locker room and provide leadership on and off the field. So, Falcons fans, let's talk about it. What do you think about the signing of Divine Deablo? Do you see him as a starter, or is he just an insurance policy? And how do you feel about Mack Hollins moving on to New England? Was he underutilized in Atlanta, or was this the right move for both sides? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The Falcons were reportedly in the mix for former San Francisco 49ers linebacker Dre Greenlaw, but unfortunately, they lost out to none other than longtime rival Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. Greenlaw has agreed to a 3-year, $35 million deal with Denver, a move that stings for Atlanta, which had a serious need at inside linebacker. This one hurts because Greenlaw is a tackling machine. Since entering the league as a 5th-round pick in 2019, he has started 56 of 64 games, racking up 455 total tackles, 18 tackles for loss, and 3.5 sacks. He reached 120 tackles in both 2022 and 2023, and was even voted the 79th best player in the NFL by his peers last year. Yes, he did suffer a torn Achilles in the Super Bowl, but the fact that he returned to play in 2024 shows his resilience. At just 28 years old, he still had a lot to offer. This loss leaves the Falcons in a tricky position at linebacker. Caden Ellis led the team with 151 tackles and 16 quarterback hits last season, but beyond him, there are significant question marks. Nate Landman, who graded out as the 39th best inside linebacker by PFF, is now an unrestricted free agent. Troy Anderson has barely been on the field, playing only 9 games over the last 2 seasons due to injuries. J.D. Bertrand, a 5th-round pick in 2024, saw increased snaps late in the season, but his PFF grade of 49.8 would have ranked 79th out of 85 eligible linebackers. That's not exactly the type of depth you want. The Falcons had shown interest in both Greenlaw and Jamien Sherwood before Sherwood re-signed with the Jets. Now, with the top linebackers in free agency off the board, Atlanta might be forced to look toward the draft for reinforcements. The problem? The Falcons don't have a 3rd or 5th round pick, making it even harder to address this need in April. So, where does that leave us? Well, if the Falcons can't fix the linebacker situation in free agency, they still have opportunities to strengthen the defense, especially on the defensive line. 2 recently released veterans, Larry Ogunjobi and Zadarius Smith, could be interesting targets. Ogunjobi has been around the AFC North, playing for the Browns, Bengals, and Steelers. In 2024, he recorded 41 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 7 quarterback hits, and 1.5 sacks. He's not the pass rusher he once was. His peak was in 2021 when he had 7 sacks, but he could provide some much-needed depth on the interior, especially after the Falcons released Grady Jarrett to save cap space. Zadarius Smith, on the other hand, might be an even better fit. He's 2 years older than Ogunjobi, but has had a more decorated career. He posted double-digit sack seasons in 2019, 2020, and 2022, making the Pro Bowl in all 3 years. Even last season, splitting time between the Browns and Lions, he registered 9 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, and 17 quarterback hits. The Lions picked him up at the trade deadline, but decided to release him to free up $5.7 million in cap space. The Falcons desperately need help on the defensive line, and Smith could be a key piece to add pressure off the edge. Atlanta still has the number 15 overall pick in the draft, and many expect them to target a pass rusher, but adding a proven veteran like Smith would take some of the pressure off their draft strategy. Ideally, the Falcons will take a balanced approach, adding young talent through the draft while securing experienced players in free agency. If they can land both Ogunjobi and Smith on affordable deals, it would go a long way toward shoring up this defensive front. So, Falcons fans, what do you think? Are you disappointed that the team missed out on Dre Greenlaw? Do you believe the Falcons should still be targeting linebackers in free agency, or should they shift their focus to the draft? And when it comes to the defensive line, would you rather see Atlanta sign Ogunjobi, Smith, or both? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget, if you want to stay updated on everything happening with the Falcons this offseason, hit that like button and subscribe. There's plenty more to come, and you won't want to miss it. Go Falcons!